Patreon.com/IamChellsX. IamChellsXstore.com for the merch. And IamChellsX.com to subscribe to the mailing list. Narcissists. What do they do? And how should you respond? Let's go. Jimmy!
Hi.
What's happening?
How are you?
I feel pretty good. I'm at about 67%.
That's good.
Yesterday was like 42.
Oh.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
When my phone is on 67, I put it on the charger.
That's what the live is. I'm charging.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Saw me on the earlier joint. I was like, well, hey, Carl, this is what you gotta do. So, yeah. I jumped in the shower. I take cold showers, right? Stimulates blood flow. What up, Heavy? Stimulates blood flow, improves the immune system. It triggers your central nervous system so that when you come into triggers and fear and all of that stuff in the real world, you're already primed to respond from a more calm state. Cold showers.
Okay.
So there's that. Anyway, how you feeling today?
I feel great.
What's another word for great? Fantastic. I Julie being fantastic.
Amazing.
Okay, that's a good one. So Carl asked me to read the definition of a narcissist before we get started because Carl says y'all need to go to therapy and read the dictionary. And we have Dr. E coming in later for the therapy part. And Carl's not here, so I'm going to read y'all the dictionary. According to my dictionary app, the definition of a narcissist is a person who is overly self-involved and often vain and selfish. And then it says psychiatry, a person who has narcissistic personality disorder. So technically, all of you people out there calling people narcissists, unless you are a psychiatrist, technically you cannot diagnose them. However, that doesn't mean you can't recognize narcissistic traits. And then the next one, it says psychoanalyst, a person who experiences or exhibits narcissism, deriving erotic gratification from admiration of their own physical or mental attributes. So they are attention whores and they want your attention. Yeah. So, Julie Bain, tell me what you know about narcissists.
I know that they're very smart and oftentimes they use their smarts to manipulate people into doubting themselves. Like when they're having a discussion or argument, they won't take accountability for their piece in it. They'll just flip it around and make the other person doubt their sense of what actually happened.
So do you think, do narcissists typically use gaslighting as a tactic in order to skirt responsibility and accountability?
Yes.
Okay. So I got a list of things. One that I have is never takes responsibility or accountability. Immature, entitled, and demanding. They can also be explosive. Yes, Ms. Lynn, they play mind games. They lack empathy. They deflect a lot. And they try to make you think that you're not a good person, right? And so I did my YouTube research. I got you. Give me one second. I did my YouTube research. And from what I understand, the best way to deal with a narcissist. Now, Dr. E can correct me if I'm wrong when he comes in. But from what I understand, the best way to deal with a narcissist is to not deal with them at all. Right? If you have the ability to not communicate with them, to not say anything to them, that's the best way, because their whole game is to trigger you. And it's like they feed off of you becoming emotional. So if you can just avoid them at all costs, then you don't have to worry about them. What you got, Julie?
Yes. So 2 things to add. That's very, very important. Because I think we all have some of those tendencies, because whatever, we're human. But specifically, they are predisposed to needing to control the conversation.
They have to control the conversation, right, which means they have to control the narrative. So they're going to control how everyone sees them and how everyone sees you.
Right. And they have a unrealistic sense of, I'm going to say this wrong, superiority.
Yes. So they think super high of themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I think like regular people, we don't think super high of ourselves at everything and all the time, right? We come with some insecurities and we're just average or whatever. But narcissists really see themselves as above everyone else. And that's why I say a lot of them are extremely smart. You know, I give them that. They're extremely smart. But it's that part where it's like a condescending air to them. Even if you're saying, oh, the weather's nice. Like everything is about them being better than everyone else.
So that makes me think that deep down, the superiority complex that they display to the public is really a mask, a really, really good mask. And maybe they believe in at this point to cover up deep insecurities. Right?
Right. I agree. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, go ahead.
And I think that the only people that really, really get down to the nitty gritty with a narcissist is like a loved one or a romantic partner that has been with them for a long time, that they kind of learned who they really are. And that's why they tend to manipulate their partners and make them feel, they literally, over time, will make them feel like they are crazy. Because they can't have you telling the rest of the world who they really are. So they make you create this self-doubt.
So I would think, I understand what you're saying, right? How like it has to be somebody close to them. And I would imagine that's true and to a certain degree and with certain people. But I also think it's easy to blow off people who are close to you too. Like when you're 10 toes down on something, right? And especially if you're talking about like an intimate relationship. Like let's use a man, let's say the guy is a narcissist, right? And he's 10 toes down on something. He already wants to control the narrative. He wants to control the conversation. So if his woman comes to him and tries to show him the mirror of who he truly is, he's not going to want to see control to her. Right?
Right, but they thrive in the challenge. So for example, if you're a narcissist and I'm a very mild-mannered person, there is no challenge. You're not. I'm not going to challenge you. So that type of person, yes, they do blow off, but where they get their energy from is where it's always like a chess game to them. So if they have that partner who's the opposite, right, and says, no, that's not what I said, that's where they thrive. So if they have someone who's like, yeah, you're right, it's dead. The argument's done right there.
Yes.
So if they're always saying, yeah, you're right, no, you're right, then they're like, when are you going to give me more attention?
Because they want the energy. So, but that makes me think, like, because I think we all have narcissistic traits, right? If you were to go into some type of sparring session with a narcissist, do you have to reach down and get your inner narcissist in order to beat them, in order to attack, or do you just have to remain cool, calm, collective, not let them deflect? Hit your points. Don't give them give them nothing and take from them everything, but in a calm,
right,
almost like non-emotional kind of way.
Right, exactly. Because you are not feeding into what they thrive on. But the problem is that, and I went through this for a while, so I like did research. The problem is that usually they don't get along with that person. They get along with the one that's like, but I love you. I wanna, let's make this work. Let's fix this. They are magnets to those people that want to make things better and help and give.
Okay, so
Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. So because you're talking about givers and takers, right? Mm-hmm. So the narcissist is the taker, and the other person is the giver, and this giver has like a perpetual need to give. So they're always trying to fulfill the narcissist's desires, and the narcissist is always willing to take the energy. So the solution really is to insert someone who the narcissist wants to trigger, right? Wants to pull energy from, but that person really doesn't give. They don't care. It's like, whatever. No, that's stupid. I disagree with that's dumb.
Right, and they don't validate them because I used to be like, oh, I need to validate his feelings. I need to put him up on a pedestal so he can feel good. Mm-hmm. Like the other person is like, oh, is that what you think? Okay. And just like the indifference eats away at them.
Yeah. So that being said, one of the other things I found out, because y'all know I'm still reading a book on boundaries, and I'm sorry I haven't given y'all an update because I'm actually writing my own book, my autobiography and all of that good stuff. But one of the things it said that I learned is you have to be willing to set proper boundaries. You have to be willing to tell them no, and you have to be willing to stand on your nose. Because if you don't stand on your nose, they will run roughshod over you. And you can't give them a lot of explanation as to why you're saying no. The answer is just no. And however you feel about it, you need to go deal with that yourself. But my answer is no.
Yeah, I used to have to prepare. I remember I asked you a couple of times, like I used to have to prepare my communication. Mm-hmm. Because it's easy for me to get, is it called railroad? Railroad?
Railroaded
into something else. And with this particular individual, I had notes on paper. I had a time limit. And I made sure that I checked off like everything that I needed to say. And the focus wasn't on gaining understanding.
Were you just making your points?
Yes. The focus was, let me make my points, and whether you understand, accept, whatever, that's on you. Because the more you try to get them to understand, the more they try to redirect and turn the table and shift the blame and all of that. Because, again, they are superior to you. So what is it that they need to understand from someone?
Oh, so you can't teach them anything. So you just got to keep driving home your point. So they're going to deflect, and it's no, I'm not answering that question. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about when you did this, it was wrong. I need you to fess up to it. And I'm not moving off my square until you give me what it is that I want.
Yeah, and a lot of times you have to be, like when you get to the point where you don't want to deal with them anymore, you just got to be okay with them not really taking accountability. Because, again, they get their energy from the back and forth.
So something else that I learned too is they, like you said, they like to control the narrative, right? So if you're in a relationship with them, or it doesn't have to be intimate, it just be parent, child, or whatever, mother, father, whatever. They like to control the narrative of the way they're seen and the way you're seen by the people who know you both. So if you're going to, leave a relationship with a narcissist, you have to be prepared to deal with the fact that they're going to paint you in a negative light to the people that y'all both know. And you may lose friendships and things like that because of, especially if the people are, if the people are under their narcissistic spell.
Yeah. They put up a really, really good mask for the rest of the world. A lot of times it's the person that you can always count on. the person that you go to for advice or this and that. And I remember one thing that I was like very shocked about was when I broke up with my ex, he got mad because I told my parents.
So he didn't want your parents to see him as something negative, right?
And what's weird is I'm very close to my parents. So like the first person that I would talk to, well, first of all, I went to go live with my mom. So what was I going to talk to mom? Oh, I just stayed here for a few days.
You moving in? She like, what are you doing? I thought you and old boy was good.
Yeah, and he took that like a moment of betrayal. Like I betrayed him by telling my friends and family that we were no longer together.
So they don't like for other people to see them exposed. Got you. Ben Ready, what's happening?
What's going on?
How you feeling?
I'm good.
You sound tired today. You okay?
No, I'm all right. Chill.
All right, I'm just making sure. Normally you have a little more octave, but today.
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right, I just making sure. Normally you sound. Don't he normally sound a little like he projects more? Yeah, that's all. It's all good. But you say you good, you good. I ain't no pressure. So Let me ask you this: have you ever dealt with a narcissist?
No, I don't think so. In my opinion, to me, that's a person that's always have one. I don't think so. But yeah, a supervisor. And to me, a narcissist, in my opinion, in my definition, is a person that always wants to be in control of something or, the situation.
So when you think about your interactions with the potentially narcissistic supervisor, how did you go about dealing with it, him or her?
Cussing this bitch ass out. Just like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can't hear you, Julie. What'd you say?
I thought, wasn't that part of his job?
No, not to be a narcissist, being in control, but when you're overdoing it, when you have something that's fixed, this is why I use like different, analogies or examples for different things. Like I said, like with the car, right? You're not going to take your car to the shop unless something needs to be done to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the car is riding fine, there's no maintenance needs to be done to it. You're not going to take it to the shop. So if it's basically what I'm saying, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. So with the supervisor, this is when I was working at the post office. We had got a new supervisor because they rotated supervisors, right? And we had already had a system set in our section, right? And it was smooth. I worked in one of the easiest sections in the building. And when he came in, just like a coach that comes to a new team, a sports team, basketball, football team, they're going to make changes, right? My thing is, when you make changes to anything, you should be making changes for the better. If it's not broke, then don't try to fix it. So if you're going to add something that's going to make, the situation better, not worse. And when he came,
go ahead,
to our section, he caused a lot of disruption amongst people.
Do you think he did that for the purpose of triggering the people, the employees that worked under him, or do you think he was trying to achieve an objective for the company?
He was just an asshole. It was just him personally, right? And he wasn't doing anything out the way that made the company better. To me, he made it worse. When you have people that's arguing with you every day, different people, men and women, it becomes a problem.
I don't know if what you're explaining.
You're not adding value. You're not adding value to the situation at hand.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but based on what you're saying, I'm not sure that meets the definition of being a narcissist. I mean, they might be a micromanager, or they might be, an asshole or difficult to work with. But I think a narcissist would be someone who comes in as a supervisor, comes in and makes everything about them, and every new directive they give it just to piss you off, and they get enjoyment out of implementing these things just to piss you off.
And that's exactly what he was doing.
Right there. Okay. Got you. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Charles.
How you feeling?
Hi, Julie. Hi.
Been ready.
Been ready. Been ready or Kirk. Either or.
All right. How you feeling? How you feel? I'm good. I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm good.
Look like you've been.
Are you back from Vegas?
I was say you've been partying.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Clinton said some people feel they have to show that they know how to do something. Yeah, you're right, and I'm sure that a lot of narcissists are that way. But I mean, I think you take someone who, like, they have this thing. What do they call it? Like imposter syndrome or something, where you give somebody a position and then they just start acting the way they think that position is supposed to be acted out. That doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist. I think a narcissist is a deeper seated desire to pull energy from other people and never take accountability, and that their whole mission. Like, I watched this YouTube video, and the way the guy explained it was like this. He said, when you're conversing with a narcissist, it's almost like conversing with a computer program that is strictly written to only respond in a way to trigger you. They have no genuine intent behind the conversation. So if you say something good, they don't care. If you make a good point, they're not going to acknowledge it. They only want to say things that are going to trigger you, because their whole game is to get you to respond to them from an emotional standpoint. And they could be like, oh, I won. They don't even care if they're right or wrong, per se, right? They just want your energy.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And this is what this nigga was doing.
Was just people that want to, and maybe this is just the way that I understood it. I just thought a narcissist is a person that's just really ego driven, and they, in their minds at least, are superior to all others. Like, they know they're smarter than everybody. They're the smartest person in the room. They're gonna outwit everybody, out-strategize everybody. And that's just what I thought. But I didn't know that they can, like, gear conversations to trigger. I mean, I've dealt with narcissists. I haven't experienced them in that way.
You say you have or you haven't?
I have dealt with narcissists before. I've dated too. But I never, maybe, or you know what? Life on moment. Maybe they were trying to trigger me and it just didn't land with me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, after time goes by and you look back and you learn about this, you're like, they did do that and that and that and that and that. It's not just one, trait. It's a lot of things.
So Blue, so hold on one second. So Blue, yes, I can give the textbook definition, and if you were here on time, you would have got it. So it says a person who is overly self-involved and often vain and selfish. And then in psychiatry, it says a person who has narcissistic personality disorder. Now that is that is a very important definition, right? Because narcissism and narcissist are words that are floating around the internet now, and technically only a psychiatrist, right, or a doctor or whatever can diagnose you as an official narcissist, because it's a mental illness. It's a personality disorder. And then it says psychoanalyst, a person who experiences or exhibits narcissism, deriving erotic gratification from admiration of their own physical or mental attributes. Nikki done thought of 8 more narcissists that she done talked to in her life. Right, Coach Jay. And so we all have narcissistic traits. I think it's a spectrum, right? And so, but what happens is that someone we all have narcissistic traits, but someone who has narcissistic personality disorder exhibits those traits on an extreme level, right? So, oh, no problem, Blue, anytime. So, most of us technically can't diagnose someone as a narcissist, but that doesn't mean that we can't spot out narcissistic traits. The same way I, as an officer, can't diagnose you with, say, schizophrenia or bipolar, right? But they do endow me with the power to take you to the hospital by force if need be, if you are a threat to yourself or others. So that tells you that the average person can look at someone and see that they're having a mental illness issue in the moment. Same thing with narcissism. You don't have to diagnose that person to be able to see, oh, you are manipulating me. You are avoiding accountability for something that we all know you did. Right? Julie Bain, what you got?
So Coach Jay asked a really great question, and I just looked it up. And it says, like, how do people become narcissists, right? It starts in childhood, and it's by excessive approval by the parents and excessive idealization, where parents are always like, that child can do no wrong. Even if they did wrong, the child can do no wrong. So from childhood, you are not holding your child accountable when they do something wrong. It's like, no, my child is perfect. My child would never do that, could never do that. And then, since y'all like stats, the University of Buffalo did a research, and it says out of 475,000 participants, they found that men on average become more narcissistic than women because mothers tend to over nurture their kids.
Let me clutch my man per Dr. Hawk. Go back, Julie. Let's run the tape back. Whoop. Say that again, Julie.
Yes, it says with 3 decades of data and more than 475,000 participants, a new study on narcissism from the University of Buffalo revealed that men on average are more narcissistic than women because they are being more overly nurtured by their mothers than the daughters or the women would have been.
Okay, so based on that study, we have established that narcissism is something that is dawned or created in the parent-child relationship, and it comes from essentially letting your child think that they're, the center of the universe, right? So
all these that got mommy issues. Yes, go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So, but that makes me wonder, me, I invert everything, right? You say all them dudes that got mommy issues. That also makes me wonder, can someone become a narcissist from the exact extreme opposite, to where their parents don't give them anything and they're forced to pull everything from within, so they become really good at whatever it is that they're good at, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, let's say your parents didn't lift you up at all. They beat you down. And what you did, you were a tough kid. So instead of being beaten down, you use that as fuel, and you convinced yourself, like, I'm going to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm him. And now no one can convince me that I'm not him. I wonder is that possible?
Right? The lack of?
Yeah, the lack of. There's a complete lack of nurturing. Can that breed, or trauma from that breed, a narcissist too? Right? So let's say my parents never told me I was great. They told me I wasn't going to be anything. And then I become like an aerospace engineer, right? And I'm the greatest aerospace engineer that ever existed. You can't tell me nothing. It ain't nothing that nobody in NASA can come to me and tell me to make me think that they better than me, because you not. And my parents thought I wasn't going to be nobody. And my teacher said I wasn't going to be nobody. Now I've run this whole shit and y'all can't tell me nothing.
So
like
then
Kanye.
if we hear to what you're saying, then that means that insecurity gives birth to narcissism.
I'm saying I theorize that it can, because I think that anyone who overly exerts their confidence to a point where it's 100% arrogance, they're doing that to cover up a deep insecurity. Now, people who are balanced can see through that and be like, right, so if I came on here every day, imagine if I came on here every day, right? And the first thing I came on and I said, y'all, I know y'all so happy to see me. I'm so sexy. Y'all know I got the beard and I got the look, my eyes droop a little bit and the ladies love me. And it ain't nobody else on Instagram that could do this thing the way I do it. Eventually, y'all gonna be like, that nigga hurt. Like somebody told him he was ugly. You know what I'm saying? Somebody told him he looked like Kermit the Frog and he's fighting it, right? Because you're like, there's no need. People compliment you, dog. You ain't got to keep doing it, right? So I'm just thinking, I know we kind of going down a bit of a rabbit hole. I'm just thinking, does the inverse of over nurturing create potentially the same outcome? Coach J said it can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think so, Ben Ready?
I believe so.
That's interesting.
I believe so. So like with when you was you sounded like Kanye West for a minute, right? So I would say Kanye is a narcissist, in my opinion.
And from what we know, his mother really nurtured him.
Right.
Right. And I think when you look at just Kanye, and y'all don't like talking about celebrities, because I actually like Kanye, right?
Right.
I think the beauty of that is that someone who becomes a narcissist in that way and it ends up in the art field, their narcissism drives their creativity. So you can't tell them that they songs suck. Like Jay-Z probably told Kanye this song is some shit, and Kanye probably was like, I don't make bullshit. And then he went on, and the joint probably got 200 million gazillion streams. And he was like, I told you, Jay. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I also found that it says here, it's an excessive deviation from ideal rearing, whether that is neglect / abuse or over pampering, which is too much attention. So whether that's not enough attention or too much attention, that's part of the environment that can create a narcissistic child, and it starts at childhood.
So listen, the first experience I had with a narcissist, I didn't know until many years after we had separated that's what he was. Hold on, really?
That's your dog? That's your dog? That's your dog? You got a dog?
That was a burp that came out of my 5-year-old. This nigga just shook the room. I'm gonna get you checked out. So yeah, but so he I didn't realize he was a narcissist until many years afterwards. And his mother, she did coddle him extremely. I don't even want to call it nurturing because I think she enabled him. It was a lot of things that he was supposed to hit, markers. Now that I have sons, I know there were markers that he was supposed to hit that would have fed his confidence. And then if he would have felt confident in that would have been okay because he earned them. And he hit those markers, through trial and error. You can't shield him from the world. And she tried that, but I think she overcompensated with that because his dad he was basically a stranger to him. And he grew up with his dad in the house. So I think that's why she felt the need to go.
To overcompensate.
Well, yeah.
So this is interesting. So I just found 3 mistakes that parents make that are more likely to raise narcissistic kids. Not acknowledging your own negative behaviors. So like
as a parent.
So as a parent, right? So if as a parent, I burned the food, and I'm like, no, the food's not burnt. Like, the children are seeing that behavior and they are reflecting what they're seeing in the home. So as the parent, you have to acknowledge when you made a mistake, because we're human, right? So it says, number one, you're not acknowledging your own negative behavior, and your children will adopt that same action. Then it says not mirroring or validating your child's emotions at all. Like at all. Yeah. So shaming them all the time and ignoring them all the time also sends them a negative message. And then the third one is not calling out your child's behavior, especially, it says, if your kid throws a fit in public because they're not getting their way, and you just let that happen without calling them out on it, you're enabling, like you said, that behavior, because then they become adult and they throw these fits, and now they got to deal with the rest of the world.
And then we're not going to treat them the way they've been used to, they've been accustomed to being treated. And so it's so messed up, because I think underneath it, and I know a lot of times you probably won't hear this, but I think underneath of that, of one of my exes, was a good person. But now that I'm listening to y'all, I'm thinking the reason why he was narcissist, majority of it really was the making of him and his upbringing. I think it just, by the time he hit adulthood, it just is who he was.
So they say, like, between the ages of birth or conception and age 7, your brain operates in the form of when you're being brainwashed, right? So like from 0 to 7, it's like all subconscious programming. And like essentially from 0 to 7, that's what you get. That's pretty much who you're going to be from a subconscious standpoint. Now, from, improving upon myself and working on myself, I know you can reprogram your subconscious, right?
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult thing to do. Like, you have to be so intentional when you reprogram your subconscious. You have to always be on guard for the negative things that come to your life because you subconsciously draw them to you, right? So, I'll tell y'all something that me and Lil had a little tiff about. So y'all know I work nights, so I be tired, and then I come on the live and I be tired. But I give y'all a bunch of energy because it's adrenaline, and I have to, and I'm coming here to do this, right? But then after the live, I'll just be like, man, I'm tired, right? Jay's back. And essentially she was like, yo, like, I understand you go to work. I understand you don't get that much sleep, but you're giving the live a bunch of energy, and then we get like the crust of the bread. So I had to reprogram with the help of Dr. E. Black people go to therapy. You niggas need some help. And Dr. E was like, hey, dog, you just gonna have to push through. So for anybody, I'm gonna be a narcissist for a second. Anybody who has any problem or any jealousy of any success that I have, you can blame Dr. E. Don't blame me. I ain't got shit to do with it. I'm just doing what my therapist told me to do. My therapist told me to run roughshod over all of you bitch ass niggas. And since I can't get badges, I might as well say whatever the fuck I want. Right, Ben Ready?
Right.
My nigga.
Don't encourage him.
Right.
So,
Julie.
So anyway.
Julie.
I just having a little fun. Ben Ready, I'm gonna bring Coach J up. What you got for? I'll let you slide over, my brother. I appreciate you visiting the suburbs today.
No, yeah, I do this all day. But when it comes to narcissists, like I said, they're just, controlling people, in my opinion. And however you want to take it, that's what it is. To make it, plain and simple, black and white. That's all it is. Someone trying to control the situation, whatever situation it may be.
Hey, Ben Ready, I want to tell you something before you leave, right? I know you come into different lives day in and day out, and you take heat,
right,
and you give heat. But I appreciate you, young. I appreciate the fact that you come back every day. You stand 10 toes down. You're willing. You stand 10 toes down on your perspectives. You're willing to articulate your perspectives, and you take a beating sometimes in the comments. You take a beating sometimes on the live, but you always come back. So I admire your willingness to come in and do this day in and day out. I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. It's just for me, I just want to hear. I'm learning at the same time, just like y'all. And I'm always willing to learn and hear different people's perspectives on different things, because we have a lot of closed-minded people that think things are just one way, like you, right? And, or call names out, right? So I try to broaden people's, perspectives and not saying that I'm always right, because I'm not always right. And you're not going to always agree with me. I'm not going to always agree with y'all. But this is how people will learn.
You know what Ben Ready just told y'all?
You got to take.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So this is, so I like I said, I jump from live to live to hear what different people are talking about and, to get my different perspectives. That's all.
Well, I appreciate
But I'm a cool, laid back person. I'm not problematic. But when you see me arguing with folks, yeah, I'm in the hood. So when I come out here to the suburbs, yeah, I know how to change my clothes and act right.
All right. Well,
you get what I'm saying?
We appreciate you. Ben Ready just said, Carl and Julie, y'all black people, y'all need to go to therapy. Y'all need some help. Appreciate you, Ben Ready.
But yeah, Julie cool though, but I got some work to do on her. That's all.
Okay. All right.
It's all good.
Well, you can do that work later. I gotta get Coach J up here right quick before Dr. E jump in.
All right.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
All right. Peace out. All right. Hold on. So
see, Julie, you didn't know that he had some work to do on you. You didn't even know that.
All right. Hold on one second. So Dr. E is ready. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna see if I can get Dr. E and Coach J up here at the same time. Hold on. Okay, hold on one second, y'all.
She got work to do on me.
Is Ben Ready still in here? No. Hold on, Dr. E. Give me 1 second. Is Dr. E still in here? He sent the request? Ben Ready, you're not hiding out in here, are you? Like last time. Last time, Ben Ready wasn't even on my screen and he started talking. I was like, how he get back in here?
Yeah, Dr. E is here. And so is Coach J.
All right, so Nikki, what you got in closing before I let you slide off? Let me see if I can get both of them in here before we end the first hour.
I don't really have anything in closing. I'm learning today. I'm like, what? Well, wait a minute. Maybe I'm doing a lot more narcissists than I originally thought.
Well, when I started looking into it, I was like, wait a minute. Is this about me? Am I a narcissist too? Like, I don't think I'm a narcissist.
No, I know I'm not a narcissist. I am a confident woman, but I am someone who is humble. I can learn, and I have a lot to learn. And if anybody owns their stuff and realizes that they got some stuff with them, it's this chick.
Okay.
So
well, we appreciate you. We still mad at you for leaving us, but that's okay. We understand you got to do bigger things. It's all good, but we appreciate you, Nikki. Go.
I'll be listening, and I'm gonna slide off.
All right, we'll holler. Holla! Take your power back. You kids be tripping, huh? It says, see you later. All right, let me see. Let me try this. Hey, Dr. E, is Dr. E in the room?
Yes.
No, I know. I mean, it says that he's in the room, like in the thing. Hold on 1 second. Let's do it this way. Because I know I don't have 4 people in here. It just says it's me and you. Yo mama and yo cubs. And 2. Hey, Coach J, did you get the invite? If you got the invite, I need you to go ahead and accept that so I can figure out what's going on with Instagram here. I know you're here, Dr. E. I'm trying to accept your request. It won't let me bring you up. Shoot, man. Coach J, did you get the invite? Okay, there's Coach J.
Yes,
hi, Coach J. How you feeling?
Hi. I'm feeling good.
Good. Sit tight. I'm gonna see if I can get Dr. E up here.
Okay.
Black people, y'all gonna get some double therapy today. Y'all gonna get double therapy. Y'all gonna get some life coaching, and y'all gonna get some dancing classes too. Y'all getting the whole nine.
What is that wall? Is that tape? I like that.
Oh,
That is dope.
Thanks. I used tape to tape it off and then painted over it and then took the tape off.
That is nice.
Thanks.
Let me be a narcissist right quick. I mean, it's all right, but I think I could have done it better. I would have chose a different color.
That's a good question. Can you jump in and out of narcissism?
I'm sure you can. If you had
true narcissist,
I don't think
as a true one, no, I don't think you can as a true one. But this is what I think. I think because everyone has the traits, I think that you do have people who like aren't narcissists in most situations, but when certain things come up, it triggers that particular thing within them, right? So like, let's just say, I don't know, let's come up with a stupid example. Like, let's say I think I'm the best basketball player that ever lived, right? So I might not be narcissist in my house, right? Or I might not be narcissist in any conversation or anything else, but when it comes to basketball, I may make everything about me. You see what I'm saying? Hey, Dr. E, close the live out and then come back and see if you could come back in. Because I tried to get you in multiple times. Tar said you cannot be a narcissist but have narcissistic tendencies. Right. So anyway, Coach J.
You cannot be a narcissist but have you. What? Okay.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think? What are some traits of a narcissist that we missed? And what are some things that we can do when we have to deal with someone who's narcissistic?
I jumped in on the live a little late, but the first thing that came to my mind, and I don't know if you all mentioned this or not, was someone, I think the gentleman that just went off, he said something about control, right? Narcissists like to have control, but I think that's like the core of it. They like to have control because they don't have control. And that's a lot of us, right? But it's just amplified and heightened to the extreme or whatever the case is. And I think the other thing I was going to say about narcissists, it's a word that's being thrown around a lot. And I love that you all honed in on there's an actual diagnosis for it. And so I think that to take that in consideration, because I think sometimes when we are on the other side of the narcissist, so if we're impacted by the narcissist, we're quick to say that that's what it is, right? But not really knowing what it really means. So that's something else came to my mind too, but I don't remember. It'll come up.
You got to cross your fingers.
But I like to say it.
You got to cross your fingers and it'll make it come back. That's what we do here. Julie Bean, what you got?
Works.
Huh?
So I was going to say, like Coach Jay was saying, like people throw that word around, right? But do you know the childhood experience and trauma of that person that you're talking about? Or are you just having a bad day with someone and you think they're being selfish? Like there is a huge difference, because as I was reading, it goes back to childhood. And if you don't really know that about, that person, and you just want to use the word, that's very different than spending years in a mentally abusive relationship with someone. And then years later, you're like, oh, dang, like now I understand why X, Y, and Z happened. I think there's a difference.
Dr. E.
What up? What up?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Pretty good. No complaints over here.
If you want to complain, this is a safe space. You can complain. It's okay. Everybody else comes here and complains about something. It's okay.
It's my left knee, man. Earlier when I was working out, my left knee, I kind of tripped that joint.
Oh, you know what you got to do, right?
Run to the pain, baby.
You got to run to the pain, but you got to get in that ice bath.
Nah,
nigga, you wrote a whole book. I'm the only person that's going to call their therapist, nigga, or live. Hey, look, you wrote a whole book on running to the pain. If you don't get in that ice bath, bro.
I've done that. I played football. I done it. I choose not to right now.
Did it work? When you were, hold on now, hold on, because you get to set me straight. Hold on, you get to set me straight every other Saturday. So it's my turn, just real quick, right? Let me deal in a little bit of narcissism here, right? When you were playing football, Dr. Robert Evans III, did the ice baths help?
Absolutely. Ice baths help. Ice. I injured. I've had several surgeries, knee surgery, shoulder surgery, and it's always ice. Always ice.
So my advice to you as a life coach, even though as a life coach I'm not supposed to give direct advice, I would advise you to put that knee in the ice bath.
You know what? I may take your advice. I got a little frozen sleeve. I can slide the sleeve on there. That'll do the trick.
Yeah, just do that. Get some healing. Run to the paint. So
absolutely.
So narcissism. What can you tell us about narcissism? About narcissists, and what's the best way to deal with them or traverse conversation with them, relationships with them?
That's what you
said. I like what the young lady said earlier about the word just being overused, right? There's oversaturation. I think every year it's a new word. Before narcissist, it was toxic. Everything was toxic. Now everybody's a narcissist. And that's just not true. Everybody does not have to qualify to have the disorder, the personality disorder. And people will say, well, this person's a narcissist because they feel like they're being manipulated, or maybe they're being taken advantage of, or maybe they're being outsmarted. But just think about it like this. If the average person was all powerful, they would just squish people. The average person would squish people if they had all power.
Okay.
And if you have somebody who is just the smartest person on a regular basis, they find themselves to be the smartest person all the time. They start to just look at other people as their ants, right? They start to develop this disorder, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be from your parent, from how you were parented. You know, it's a number of ingredients that have to be in place. I think anybody's capable of anything. Given the right circumstances, anybody can possibly do anything, right? So people are born with a set of, I kind of look at it like Lego blocks. Everybody gets a set of Lego blocks to become whatever it is they're supposed to become. Some people get more Legos to do X, Y, and Z. But depending on their environment, depending on their experience, the trauma, in most cases, personality disorder developed from trauma and things that people have gone through. And it's really a survival mechanism. And they've learned how to master this survival mechanism. And so much so that it becomes a problem because now they've lost in this thing. So with this narcissistic personality disorder and feeling like you're always smarter than everybody else, manipulating everybody else, not wanting to be wrong, I think that one of the things that's missing that people haven't mentioned is a lack of empathy. Mm-hmm. Really wanting to see people not do well, right? I had one young client who brilliant kid, right? He's gotten into and he's been successful at one of the most prestigious schools in America, right? And if I wasn't working with him from high school all the way through, he probably could have developed a narcissistic personality disorder because he found himself to just always be at the top and wanting it more, thriving for it more. And then you start to develop this God complex, like, man, it must be me. I must not derive my power from anything other than me, right? Which people can be susceptible to, you know? So I think looking at it from a humanistic standpoint, anybody's capable of anything. We got to stop using the word narcissist and lumping everybody up into this category of being a narcissist. But like you say, people do display the traits. People can be very manipulative, try to take advantage. But if you think about the typical argument, people want to win an argument. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes in long relationships, when people really get to know each other, they will appear to be narcissistic because they know what you're going to say before you're going to say it. They know how to respond to everything. They know how to push your buttons. They know all of those things because they've been with you for so long. So you're going to think this person's a narcissist because this person knows how to manipulate you.
Okay.
They develop that over time.
So let's say they do, though, right? Yeah, let's say they're not. Let's say they don't have narcissistic personality disorder, but they know how to manipulate you, right? How do I traverse that?
Well, I think that it's not healthy to be in a relationship with someone who wants to manipulate you and doesn't want the best for you, who doesn't have empathy for you, who doesn't care about you. So, you need to make a decision to choose yourself first. I think one of the things you said earlier was to not be in relationship with these type of people. Sometimes it's somebody who you don't necessarily want to cut off. It may not be a spouse. It could be a sibling. It could be a parent. It could be a child.
Yeah.
And so in the case where you want to be in relationship with this person, you have to set firm boundaries. And you have to stand by your boundaries, and you cannot bend them. The person who knows they can bend you will keep bending you. They know they can't bend you, then they won't.
Okay, I love it. Coach Jay, what you had?
Oh no, he just Dr. E. Is it Dr. E?
Dr. E, yeah.
Yes, nice to meet you. I follow your work, so it's a pleasure to meet you. But he hit it on the head with the boundaries. But what came to me was you said it. You said, oh, that's how the abusive cycle starts, right? Most narcissists are found, empath? The empath is the opposite of a narcissist, right? So those two connect extremely well to the point where it creates the abusive cycle where it's difficult to get out of that. I have a lot of clients that I've worked with when it comes to being an empath and versus, being in a relationship with a narcissist, to the point where gaslighting, I saw someone say that in the comments, gaslighting is huge in that cycle, as well as you get to a point where you start questioning yourself, not really understanding that you are being manipulated. And it's exactly what Dr. E said. The observation and the studying of that person from the narcissist's perspective or approach is to be able to manipulate and keep the cycle going. So that's the only thought that came to my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how trauma bonding happens.
Yes.
They're only going to manipulate people that they're allowed to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't allow them to manipulate you, and it's like, okay, you know what? I see you later. They can't manipulate you.
So it kind of sounds like the narcissist and the empath are almost made for each other, so that one can learn about their own narcissism and the other one can learn about their own empathic, I guess, ways, right? So if I were to take what Dr. E and Coach J, who are both psychotherapists, my two psychotherapists, I think building your own self-awareness is really important, right? Because if you can lock in on your own triggers, right? You can, when you know the things that people can say to trigger you, right? And then especially if you know this person, you're close to them, you can begin to gauge the things that they know about you that they're going to trigger, that they're going to say to trigger. Then you can remain calm, right? Dr. E, I know we've been talking about this lately, which is the deep breathing, keep your heart rate down, and don't allow them to deflect and enforce your boundary, which I think could be difficult for somebody who's an empath because they're just a bowl of emotions anyway, right? So it's like, in my mind, so the way I kind of quantify life, I think we're all here and we all learn lessons. And I think narcissists find empaths to show them their own narcissism, and empaths find narcissists so that they can understand that they're too identified with their emotions. But you have to be self-aware enough to see, like, this is why I'm attracting this person, and it's telling me because the natural. And I remember one of the first things Dr. E told me was, people come to me and think that I'm going to help them fix somebody else, but I end up helping them fix themselves. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're the empath, you have to be able to look at the narcissist and say, well, it's not my job to fix the narcissist. It's my job to fix me so that the narcissist tricks don't work on me. So
that's key, Chelsea, what you just said. Most people, that's the reason why therapy is so needed. I always talk about how everyone should go to therapy. It's a support that should be required, honestly, because of what you just said. It's that self-awareness. It's hiding that self-awareness, because most of us, when we get in relationships, regardless of, friendships, romantic relationships, it doesn't matter. If we don't have that self-awareness, we get caught. And we don't look at ourselves first, right? We don't say, what can I hold myself accountable for? What is it that I'm learning about me? And so you hit it right on the head.
So
absolutely.
Go ahead. Well, I got a question. Julie, you had something, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that one of the first things that Chels actually pointed out when I reached out for that coaching was my boundaries. I had no boundaries, like whatsoever. And he explained that like, I'm not here to help you fix the other person. Let's talk about what you're doing and where you're lacking, so that way you could take back control of your own life. And I was dealing with someone like that, and it was primarily because I had zero boundaries. And the moment that I started to create these boundaries, and it took about a year almost, but I'm getting there, everything changed. The way he communicates with me changed. Everything is just, I feel like I'm in control of myself, and he sees that now. So his whole approach is very different now.
So, Julie, let me be a narcissist for a second. Are you saying that you went to patreon.com/IamChillsX, signed up for some life coaching, and I actually helped you get to one of the outcomes that you set for yourself? I helped you attain. Who knew that a mere life coach with a high school diploma? Nah, I'm just messing around. A little inside joke. So I do have a question for Dr. E and Coach J before we shift over to the Voices from Venus. And I want to make sure I ask it the right way. So we talk about increasing your own self-awareness, right? And we're having a conversation in the domain of traversing a relationship with a narcissist. How do you not fall into the trap of self-blame when going through the process of improving your self-awareness? And I ask that because I think it's very easy to start saying to yourself, well, I have to fix me, I have to fix me, I have to fix me, and get blinded to the idea that sometimes people just do shit that is just wrong and it's not your fault.
That's interesting. So it's a couple of things going on, because you're saying, well, I need to be aware of myself, and I do need to work on me. I need to set boundaries. I need to know what it is I need to fix about me. But at the same time, I can't blame me for this person's behavior. Right.
So, because like, okay, I'm willing to accept that I have to take responsibility and accountability. Right. But if you're dealing with someone who's a narcissist, they're going to tell you it's your fault anyway. Right. They're going to skirt responsibility and accountability anyway. And what I'm saying is how do I avoid the trap of getting so caught up in the idea that it's all about me fixing myself to a point where I have a difficult time even identifying that this one ain't on me.
Right. And I think that happens a lot. One of the things that I have clients do is to actually lead with the things that they need to work on. Right. So if you're trying to approach something that you want to deal with this other person you have a problem with, you want to make sure you lead with the things that you're working on for yourself. So you're gonna take that weapon away from them. Mm-hmm. You're gonna already own it, right? I know what I got to work on. I'm working on this, and this, and here's what I'm doing to fix this, and this. And at the point where you now shift it to them to give them an opportunity to talk about what they need to work on, they're not going to do it, and that's when you know you need to end the conversation, right? Because we can't go any further. Once I acknowledge me, it's not a time for you to now jump up and down on me. It's time for you to now acknowledge you. If you can't do that, we can't have this conversation. But like you say, people have to be aware that is probably going to happen, because otherwise they'll get caught up in, oh, you're right, I need to work on this. And people get caught up on, man, he said this about me. Well, no, they're going to say that about you because they want to deflect and they don't want to acknowledge anything about themselves. So what I help people do is realize you're going to realize who you're dealing with when you lead with what's going on with you. And if they don't follow up with, okay, I need to work on me, then you already know what you're dealing with. But you got to know that, because otherwise you get caught up.
I like that. So I'm going to take accountability for all of the things that I'm already working on, and I know this person was going to bring them up, so they don't even have the ammo. It's the old 8 Mile thing where Eminem raps about himself, right? And then he goes in on the other guy, and then I can present them with an opportunity to talk about the things that they're working on or say the things that I see that they may need to work on. And if they got nothing, then hey, you go back to square one, which is, hey, big dog, I gotta cut bait.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to keep going like this. We can't do it.
Okay.
It's all that we both can work on. And if you're not going to be able to acknowledge yours, we can't continue this conversation.
Okay. Coach Jay, what you think?
So there's an activity that I do in therapy, and what I do is called the car coming. What are you carrying? That's the name of the activity, and basically it's just to be able to identify. So say if certain conversations that you have, the outcome of the conversation, right? So if you're, like you said, getting caught in that self-blame, being able to determine what you're carrying and then what belongs to you, right? So how do I define what belongs to me? Because most of the time, of course, right, we try to be intentional, but some of us, we learn differently. So say if you're a visual, whatever the case is, you can write down the outcomes or write down situations and write down what you're literally carrying, right? If that's guilt, okay, let's unpack that guilt. What are some of the ways that you feel guilty? And then based on that guilt, what belongs to you, right? What can you hold yourself accountable for, and what actually belongs to that other person or whatever the case is? And most of the time when I do that activity, it's like an aha moment in the way of, wait, I'm carrying a lot of stuff that doesn't belong to me, which ultimately is the reason why we feel heavy when we're walking around, because things that don't belong to us, it doesn't fit, right? It doesn't mesh with who we are. So that's my 2 cents.
Beautiful. I love it.
I want to add into what she said, because I find where there's couples and there's one person who knows they're dealing with somebody who has some narcissistic tendencies, and I have them do exactly what she's doing. I want you to list out all the stuff that you're working on. I want your stuff listed out and have them do the same thing. And we're going to discuss what we have on our paper. What you're going to find is a person who has narcissistic tendencies, the things that they put down is going to always be related to the other person. Or always be like, well, I wouldn't be mad if you didn't do this. Or I wouldn't do this if you didn't do that. Always they're going to place the blame on the other person. So that's another exercise to help them to be able to point out, look, you got to be able to. That's why I don't get off topic. I'll leave it there.
Nah, go and get off topic. I got time.
That's why it's important in the vetting process when you are getting to know somebody that you need them to already know what they need to work on for themselves. Otherwise, if you got to point that out to them, it's going to be a problem for them. You're going to be the enemy.
That's challenging. That's challenging because I think to myself, it's exactly what you said, right? I believe now the way that the world is shifting when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships, that there's a lot of material out there, a lot of people talking about, what you just said, right? That vetting process, the green flags, the red flags, all of that stuff. But I think to myself, it's still a challenge in the way of a lot of people don't know what it is that they need to work on, because in relationships, the other person is a mirror, right? And so when we get in these relationships or get into these relationships, most of the time we start learning what our triggers are, or where our barriers are, or what our trauma is, and all these things, because we are wanting to connect with someone intentionally. We have a desire to, right? To the point where it's like, okay, now I'm starting to realize that these are some things that I have to, work on. But I do get what you're saying, and I agree with it in the way of, a person should be willing to do the work or in the work already, as we connect with people. But that was just my perspective.
So, to your point, I think that it lets me know a lot about a person, because typically if either you're in a relationship or you're transitioning out of one, right? Transitioning in one or out of one, or you're in one. So if you and I are dating and I'm getting to know you, that means that you should have transitioned out of one already. If you haven't, in that process of being in that relationship, learned about yourself, that's going to tell me about you. If you don't know what's wrong with you, that means that you haven't been studying in that relationship. So that means you're going to have to learn that in this relationship. And I don't want to be the one to point that out to you, because now we're going to have conflict.
And and I love that. And I think that goes to a great question. And it brings me back to a live that you, Chelsea, did a long time ago with Julie. And it was in regards to like, okay, what kind of questions should you ask, like on first dates, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I've come to find out is it aligns with what Dr. E just said in regards to, okay, we ask, well, why didn't your last relationship work? Right? Okay, whatever. It didn't work because X, Y, and Z. Okay, now my question to you is, what can you hold yourself accountable for? Right? There's a difference between those two questions. It's like, okay, it didn't work because, we're two opposites, or, she loved God and I didn't have a relationship with the Lord. You know what I mean? Versus, okay, what can you hold yourself accountable for? Pride was huge for me. Something I'm working on now. So I think that's a great point, Dr. E, and a good question to ask in regards to, what can you hold yourself accountable for in regards to why or what you did in the relationship or, influenced it not to work.
I love that.
Okay. Julie Bain, what you got before we get ready to sign off?
That would be my question, Coach Jay. Like, how do you ask? Like, when you like, what's wrong with you? And are you working? And are you working on you?
Hey, telling you, it's as simple as that.
It is. It is. I always tell everybody, yes, everyone, I always say this. We always try to find the right way to say something or the right words. And there is no right words, right? There is no way to say it. Me, I'm a straight shooter. So I'll ask, like, what can you hold yourself accountable for? Why did she leave? Right? What did you do that caused her to leave? Right? If they say, oh, it wasn't me, I was X, Y, and Z. And it's what you just said, Julie. What do you think what is something that you think that you need to work on? Sorry about the dog. But what is something that you think that you need to work on in your next relationship, kind of like what Dr. E said, in order to benefit the relationship where it doesn't have the same outcome as last time? It's kind of like you just ask whatever comes to mind. And if it scares them, it scares them.
It lets you know everything you need to know. I'm telling you, I asked my wife, so, tell me about you. She could tell me all this, run down all this good stuff. Had a whole list. I'm like, stop the list. I don't want that list. I want the other list. Because people can tell you their whole resume. Oh, I got this. I said, I want to know what's messed up. I want to know what you don't want to tell me. I want to know the crust. I want to know what you feel is broken, what you need to fix. And I like the way Coach said, she said, what would you hold yourself accountable for? That kind of gives it away a little bit, because that suggests that I want to know that you humble and that you're willing to hold yourself humble. But I'm going to know that based on how you answer what's wrong with you. Because if you don't tell me what's wrong with you and you give me the resume answer like, oh, yeah, well, I'm just too passionate. Oh, I'm just overly loving. You know how you do an interview. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what's busted. If you ain't got nothing, oh, yeah, we ain't got nothing to talk about.
Well, I think the one you hear a lot just in conversation about dating and breakups and makeups is people will say, something like, I have to do a better job of spotting the negative traits in other people. And that's like that's a cop out, right? Like, no. Yeah, you probably do. But you also need to do a better job of spotting the negative traits within yourself, because that's really where your power lies.
Right.
So that's that. We're gonna do a round robin, let everybody do a close, and then Julie is going to start the Voices from Venus. So Coach Jay, what do you have?
I think you'll start with me.
Julie Bain, what do you have in closing?
In closing, I would say stop throwing those words around unless they were actually diagnosed. We don't know if someone is a narcissist or not.
Okay. Coach Jay, what do you have in closing?
Ouch.
You got ouch?
I almost fell off the chair. That's why. I would just say do the work. It's kind of like what I get. That's the gist of everything that I hear is do the work. Like, it's kind of like what Julie said. Okay, outside of being a narcissist or outside of whatever the case is, heighten your own awareness about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are interacting with a narcissist, whether it's a family member or someone you can't get away from, then create those boundaries, because boundaries are not for the other person. They're for us, right? It's for me. I'm creating these boundaries just like forgiveness. It's for me. So if I'm creating boundaries for myself, then I'm creating safety where that person can't impede unless I allow them to. And that's where that self-awareness comes in. So,
Dr. E, what you got in closing?
We need to be very mindful of the language that we use. We have a tendency to point the finger and place judgment and call people things when if you looked at it, you probably do the same things in an argument or in a debate. You want to win it. You hit below the belt. You've tried to manipulate. You've tried to gaslight. When you losing, you swing, right? So when you're in those situations, you may have had a tendency to show some narcissistic trait, right? But I don't like labels. Stop searching for labels. People want to search for labels so much and forget that they're still in a relationship with this person. If that person is that bad, why are you in the relationship? That's telling me something wrong with you. If you're in a relationship to the point where you have identified this person as being a quote unquote narcissist and you still in it, what's wrong with you? Right? So stop looking at everybody else and like Coach said, do the work. Do the work. Identify what you need to fix about you, because once you have taken your power back and you understand your worth, your value, you're not going to tolerate certain things from people. You're not going to have to worry about being in those kind of relationships, because it's just not going to happen, because you're going to be elevating to a level and you're going to make people elevate to that level, or you're going to set the boundary and that's going to be it.
Beautiful. So this is what I think. And Julie's not going to interrupt me, because she has a whole show coming up in about 5 minutes that she can say whatever she wants. This is my close, right? The journey of like increasing your self-awareness is a very difficult and arduous path. I think the beauty of the way our reality is set up is that other people, friends and enemies, are going to show you the things you need to work on. So if you have to be in the presence of a narcissist who you know is going to try and trigger you, instead of looking at that person and trying to figure out what's wrong with them or trying to fix them, allow them to do what they do and be conscious of what it is they trigger within you. Because now you have used them to figure out, okay, what is it that triggers me? And now I know what triggers I need to go work on, whether I need to go sit down and talk to Coach J or Dr. E, or I need to journal, I need to meditate, I need to go talk to the Lord. Patreon.com/IamChellsX. Whatever the case may be, you have now used this person who you don't really like, but have to be in the presence of to improve yourself. And you could do that with people that you like, and you could do that with people that you dislike, but you are the center of your universe. So when the other planets and stars and emotions and people and humans and aliens and gods or whatever it is that's out there shows you yourself, be willing to look at that mirror and let them be who they are, and you continue to become the best possible version of yourself. And I say that because I hear what Coach J and Dr. E are saying in terms of the self-awareness thing, right? But one of the things that I know is difficult, has been difficult for me, is setting boundaries, right? So when someone encroaches upon my boundary and that triggers me in a way, I now know, okay, I have to get better at enforcing my boundary. So instead of being mad at them for encroaching the boundary, I can appreciate the fact that they did, because it gave me the opportunity to see, yo, you let that person get too close. You gave them too much. Next time, yo, set the boundary. So there's that. Here go Dr. E favorite part right here, baby. It's patreon.com/IamChellsX. IamChellsXstore.com for the merch. IamChellsX.com to subscribe to the mailing list. Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays is Polo Blue at about 8:15. Coming up next is Voices from Venus featuring Julie Bean and Dr. Hawk, but I'm filling in for Dr. Hawk. If you need a good life coach or a therapist, go holler at Coach J. Coach J can help you out. She can get you straight.
This is your stuff.
No. It might be somebody on here. It may be someone on. Coach J, do not interrupt my close. I will go narcissistic on your ass. It's my show. I was gonna give
you props though. I was gonna give you props.
But wait till I'm finished.
I'll wait.
So, Coach J, you messed me up, so now I got to do this. You told me distinctly that God will send the people to your life that you are supposed to coach. So if someone who sees this live or is watching it now or sees it on the replay says, you know what, Dr. E is cool and Chels is cool, but I prefer to go to Coach J, then y'all can do that. And if you need to go through me to get to Coach J, that's fine too. It's all good. So Dr. E You can catch him at Empower All Day. I don't know what his website is, but it's in the link in his Instagram bio, so you can click on that. And if you just like the sound of Dr. E's voice, and he makes you feel really good and all warm and fuzzy inside, you can go to wherever you listen to podcasts and look up Black People Go to Therapy podcast.
Good.
And that's what you niggas need to do, because Dr. E ain't allowed to say it, but I'm just a life coach. I am. Black people go to therapy. You niggas need some help. So there's that. Run to the Pain. Go on Amazon. Look up Run to the Pain. Coach Jay got books coming out. All of that good stuff. And in the meantime, in between time, take your power back, baby. Peace. Voices from Venus up next. Let's go. Run to the Pain. You niggas need some help.